All right. Can you make a method to iterate through a for each and call that method within the for each? Can you make a method to iterate through a for each and call that method? Okay, so David, yeah, you're going to have to use a for loop if you want to iterate through two collections simultaneously. So, yeah.
So now a quick review of our methods.
Methods are a way to create blocks of functionality that you can name. So for example, I could create a method called doStuff, which will print out doing stuff. And then I can invoke this method as many times as I want to. And you'll notice that I get doing stuff 3 times in a row. Methods can also take in parameters and return values. So for example, I could say a method called getInt that takes in a string prompt, and I can say console, I could just say while true, console write line, how about just write prompt int input if int.try parse console read line out input return input, otherwise say console write line invalid input. So now that I've grouped together this piece of code that you might be requiring multiple times inside of your program, I've now named this functionality and am able to invoke it from anywhere. So I could say int age equals getInt age. I could say int stuff equals getInt stuff. And now you see that I can reuse that functionality as much as I want and get a return value from that. Is a method in C# equivalent to a function? Well, certain languages only call things functions, like PHP, where functions outside of a class are still called functions, and functions inside of a class are still called functions. Other languages like C++ will name functions within a class methods, and functions outside of a class functions. In C#, it is not possible to create a function outside of a class, and as a result, everything that you would be creating a function for is actually going to be a method.
That's correct. And methods can return data.
All right. Are there any questions about functions? And in Visual Basic, if I'm not mistaken, aren't procedures method functions that don't return something and subroutines functions that do return something?
We're starting to talk about, like if you start getting into, like in Mel for Maya, procedures can be thought of like methods that don't return anything, where functions are going to be like methods that do return something. You know, it depends on what language you're talking about. But since we're just dealing with C#, we're just dealing with methods, and methods can return void or data.